Hi there, I'm Motelli Edwards and a warm welcome to Singapore Tonight. We begin with the Education Ministry, who will tighten controls on sexuality education programs run by external agencies. Materials of these agencies will now be vetted and some of it will be put online so parents know what's being taught in schools. Paul Force with the details.
Sexuality education is currently implemented in all schools, but over and above this, 3/4 of schools have also hired external agencies to complement the school programs. 2 weeks ago, the programs run by these agencies were suspended, following complaints that the teaching materials in the program run by the Association of Women for Action and Research, or AWARE, were inappropriate. For example, homosexuality is seen as neutral in AWARE's instructor guide. Following complaints from parents, the Education Ministry conducted an investigation into AWARE's program.
Our conclusion was, in general, the guidelines were adhered to. There were not serious deviations from that. But in response to this situation, we wanted to give added assurance to parents and the community that so we've instituted these new guidelines.
Previously, schools had the autonomy to engage external agencies. Now, these agencies must be approved by the Education Ministry. The agencies must submit their materials to the Education Ministry for vetting this June, and the vetting process will also be tightened. Subsequently, the Ministry will also be auditing the programs that these agencies deliver in schools. Dr. Ng says the programs must reflect mainstream values, which means encouraging heterosexual married couples to have healthy relationships. Abstinence is the key message, but information on contraception must also be included. Parents will be given more details on the sexuality education program conducted in schools, with information posted on the websites of the ministry and schools by August. Dr. Ng stressed that the program in schools must remain secular and schools cannot become proxy battlegrounds for groups with contending ideologies.
What we must stringently and strictly avoid is allowing our schools to go the way in some other countries, for example, in the United States, where different groups with different views try to square off and try to settle their arguments in schools. If we allow this to happen, our schools and education system will be casualties and be worse off.
Parents can choose to opt their children out of the programs being offered based on their own beliefs. So far, less than 1% of parents have done so.
For more on this, I'm joined now by Paul. So, Paul, I guess the question now is, will AWARE be allowed to continue running its sexuality education program in schools?
Well, Tally, the answer is no. The ministry says for the programs to be delivered effectively, parents and the ministry must be able to trust that external agencies teach according to values it believes in. The ministry says it will not use AWARE until they have gained the public's trust for its sexuality programs. My colleague Tan Yu Guan has more on what AWARE and the public have to say.
AWARE says it's regrettable that the Education Ministry has decided to drop it as a sexuality education provider. While it understands the ministry's decision, AWARE says it believes its program is a much-needed resource for youth.
I think it's grossly unfair that the program has been so misrepresented to the public by a few people who have picked up certain phrases, isolated phrases from the program and then bandied it around, so that many parents out there may now be thinking, may have a skewed understanding of what the program is about.
But AWARE isn't the only vendor affected by the saga. Other vendors whose programs have been suspended for the time being hope this saga will blow over soon.
For us, these are our core programs and services. So we are very concerned that these continue to be ongoing. As it is, our current programs have already been affected.
On the streets, many welcome MOE's move to tighten its oversight of sexuality programs. But there were mixed views on whether AWARE's program has lost the public's trust in homosexuality.
Whether, AWARE is right in teaching in schools as taking a neutral stance on it, given that they are a secular organization, I think that's fair.
Obviously, we have to get the right message to our children. That's very important. Like we're getting involved and all that. They may send the wrong message to the kids, which is not accepted by Asians.
Well, I think you have to take into consideration the fact that we import a lot of culture. You want to appear like you're upholding the traditional cultures that we as Singaporeans hold very dear to us, but you don't want to seem like you're backwards.
But most agree that educating the young about sex is a must.
So, Paul, what else is the ministry doing to beef up the current sexuality education program?
Well, Atali, the ministry will be revising the curriculum to make sure it's up to date. A steering committee comprising doctors and educationists will advise on the changes. It will be chaired by Director of Education Ho Ping, and parents will be asked to give feedback. The focus for sexuality education delivery is still on teachers, so more will be trained. Otali.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. And that's Paul Force there on the ministry tightening